equality's gone, when equality's gone, in our darkest hour, hope lingers on. Tolerance gone, when tolerance gone, in our darkest hour, hope lingers on. I will not hate, and I will not fear, in our darkest hour, hope lingers here. My love, when honor is gone, when honor is gone, in our darkest hour, hope lingers on. My country, when justice is gone, when justice is gone, in our darkest hour, hope lingers on. I will not hate, and I will not fear, in our darkest hour, hope lingers here. I will not hate, and I will not fear, in our darkest hour, hope lingers here.
Welcome to First Parish in Needham, a Unitarian Universalist congregation of humanists, theists, atheists, agnostics, and interfaith families. We are a proud LGBTQ welcoming congregation, climate justice seeking green sanctuary, a level 2 sanctuary supporting congregations for immigration justice, and 8th principle congregation striving to dismantle racism and other oppressors and build a diversified, multicultural, beloved community. Whoever you are, whatever your background, and wherever you're participating from, you are welcome here. I am Cici Ganacanto, and my husband George and I have been attending First Parish since 2015, and we feel very blessed to be a part of this congregation and to meet so many who have enriched our lives. Our UU 5th principle is about the right of conscience and the use of democratic process within our congregations and society at large. In my opinion, reaching out to this congregation to getting out the vote is definitely about preaching to the choir. Let's see a show of hands of those who have already voted by mail or in person. Let's see how many of you will be voting on Tuesday. I rest my case. I have come to realize over the years, since I chose to be an American, that living in a democracy is not just about voting or taking the oath, but more importantly, about participating and taking action whenever I can. That the most precious freedoms we have aren't just about ideals and principles documented in the Constitution or the Bill of Rights. For me, it has become how I, the citizen, conduct myself every day of my life. It is an important journey to take, knowing what it means to be an American in America and how I present myself as an American in the world. But may we meet the results of our elections with grace, gratitude, and understanding. And on that vote, let's make sure we get the vote out. Although our buildings remain under certain restrictions due to the pandemic, our faith community welcomes everyone. Our congregation is offering worship and programming in a hybrid multi-platform format with in-person hybrid and online gatherings. You can learn more about what's happening at First Parish by going to our website, uuneedham.org, or by following us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. For all Zoom links and the most up-to-date information, please sign up for our weekly email newsletter by going to our website and clicking Get Involved, Newsletter, or sending your request to office@uuneedham.org. Sorry about my tears. Welcome to everyone here in this building, and good morning.
Tears are welcome too, Cece. Don't you worry. As we light our chalices, symbol of our faith, we read words from modern Euro-American Unitarian Universalist minister, Reverend Erica Hewitt. The chalice, as a symbol of Unitarian Universalism, arose as a beacon of hope in an atmosphere of tyranny. The chalice arose as a sign of promise that the marginalized would neither be forgotten nor ignored, because they are beloved and precious from the perspective of the holy. This morning, we remember all the people who have been told explicitly or implicitly through police violence or government policy, through derision or dehumanization, that they're anything less than whole, anything less than beloved. As we light our chalices, may we make of ourselves a beacon, a symbol of our promise to draw the circle wide, a sign that we will not rest until all means all. Our opening hymn, "Oh, I Woke Up This Morning," has words from pastor and freedom writer Reverend Osby, who rewrote the lyrics of an African-American enslavement-era spiritual, "I Woke Up This Morning with My Mind Stayed on Jesus," to become a protest song while he was jailed in Mississippi for traveling on an integrated bus of both black and white riders. Please rise in body or in spirit and join in singing, "Oh, I Woke Up This Morning." The lyrics are printed in your orders of service and at number 153 in your hymnals.
Up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Walking and talking with my mind stayed on freedom. Walking and talking with my mind stayed on freedom. Walking and talking with my mind stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. I was singing and praying with my mind stayed on freedom. Singing and praying with my mind stayed on freedom. Singing and praying with my mind stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Oh, I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
In the Unitarian Universalist tradition, the covenant is a set of promises the membership of the congregation strives to honor with one another and out in the world. Though we cannot all gather together in person during this time, we strive to live these promises every day. Please say along with me the words of our parish covenant as in your emailed and printed orders of service. We gather as a loving community to encourage and comfort one another. We gather as a diverse community to support each other in our search for spiritual truth. We gather as a service community to live our beliefs through action and care for our world.
Today we celebrate the naming and dedication of Elwin Jethro Roger Rivard. Would Elwin come forward with his mother and father, Tara and Jeff, his older siblings, Dylan, Rhiannon, and Shayla, his godparents, Aunt Amanda and Uncle Chad, and his grandparents, Tabby and George Rapolt? Here, please. It's great. Yeah, that's right. Get Mimi. That's what Sophia calls her grandma. From time immemorial, parents have brought their children into places of worship to express their gratitude for the gift of life and to accept their responsibility in nurturing a new person. In our Universalist tradition, we do not gather to wipe away some original sin from this precious child, but instead we gather to welcome Elwin, rejoice in his arrival here in the world, and to extend to him our blessings. You're Elwin. Jeff and Tara, would you name your child for us?
Elwin Jethro Roger Rivard.
Now, Elwin, how shall we welcome you into the world? Even with this special ceremony, we can hardly express how happy we are that you have come. Welcome, welcome, and happy second birthday. Elwin, we have hopes and prayers for you to find joy and amazement in your body, to gain confidence in yourself, to be curious and grow in wisdom, to experience playfulness and creativity, to be tender and fearless, and to have the courage and skill to do whatever is required of you and whatever you most desire to do. Above all, Elwin, may you know stalwart love, security, and companionship from family and from friends. May you know how to give and receive generosity and compassion, and may you know divine love through a rich spiritual life amidst other seekers. Tara and Jeff, we recognize that you, as Elwin's parents, will be his primary spiritual caregivers. In addition to Elwin's health, education, shelter, and emotional life, you are charged with tending to his faith development. In bringing him here before us, you declare you desire for him to grow in strength, wisdom, and love of the good. You declare he's not only a gift to you, but to all of humanity. Elwin's upbringing is an important, enormous responsibility, and we hope you'll find a great joy. Jeff and Tara, do you make this holy promise to Elwin to love and support him unconditionally, to teach him and learn from him, and to take care of yourself so you can best take care of him? If so, please say, we do.
We do.
Dylan, Rhiannon, Shayla, you too play an important role in Elwin's life. You will love and support your brother in a special way. You may find yourself impatient when he can't keep up with you physically, mentally, or emotionally. And you may find it hard sometimes to be the more responsible one in the family. But you will also find that a baby brother is a precious person in your life. Dylan, Rhiannon, and Shayla, do you make this holy promise to Elwin to love him unconditionally, to balance his need for guidance with his need for freedom, and to make his life more joyful and fun? If so, please say, we do. Amanda and Chad. He's just following in order, isn't he? You have been honored with the invitation to become Elwyn's godmother and godfather, a role you already serve for his big sisters. And Tabby and George, you are Elwyn's beloved grandparents. You are called to widen this child's circle of love. You are charged with enhancing the development of his moral character and the care of his soul, with spoiling him and letting him break a few rules now and again, and with loving him unconditionally. Chad and Amanda, George and Tabby, do you agree to answer the sacred invitation? If so, please say, "We do."
We do.
Elwyn, for all these prayers to become a blessing in your life, I call upon your friends at First Parish to nurture your growth and be partners with you on your life's journey. For all those gathered here in the building and online, please open your gray hymnals to reading 714 in the back or look in your orders of service so that we may accept our call to Elwyn's care. I will read the plain type and hope you all will respond heartily with the italicized type. It is our faith that each child born is one more Redeemer. Are you ready to dedicate yourselves to Elwyn, Jethro, Roger, Rivard?
We are prepared to dedicate our minds and hearts to this child.
Will you strive to love and cherish him in times of struggle as well as gladness?
We will love and cherish him always.
We acknowledge the divine spark within each child. Elwyn, we at First Parish in Needham commit ourselves to you, sharing responsibility for guarding your spirit, your freedom, and your opportunities. Now, Elwyn, this flower chosen by your biggest sister, you can have it, that's fine, is a symbol of love and life's unfolding. Thank you so much. This water, collected from the whole of the First Parish community during its ingathering water communion, is a symbol of life and of our connection with all living beings, for water is life. Elwyn, with both our usual words and by request some added words from our shared favorite movie and TV series, I will touch you in blessing with this flower and this water. Do you guys want to help with that? The siblings? Yeah, you dip it. Ready? We touch you on your brow, that's here, so you may think freely and clearly, becoming wise like Yoda. On your heart, so that you may feel and love deeply, becoming warm-hearted like the Mandalorian. It's right here. There we go. And on your hands, it's perfect, so that you may serve the, it has been cleaned. And then on your hands, so that you may serve the ideals of truth and beauty, becoming righteous like Leia. And then over your whole body, so now you just shake the water on him. Yeah. So you may come to realize the fullness of your unique individuality and of your divine humanity. There you go. Elwyn, you are one with the Force, and the Force is with you. By this service of dedication, we joyfully commit to the nurture of this child. May we be worthy guardians for his young spirit. May we remember that those who come after us inherit their world from us and thus do our part in building a more just and compassionate global community. And may the Force be with us all. And now let the people say, Amen. Amen. Thank you all so much. You're welcome. Again, he's welcome downstairs. All the kids are. Now, as our children and their leaders follow Sarah Elizabeth in the light of our chalice to their religious exploration classes, let us sing together their Recessional Longtime Son as printed in your orders of service.
This is the time in our service when we share the joys and concerns that are very close to our hearts and lives. And if you can't be in the sanctuary, I would like to remind you that you can send me a joy or a concern to my email address, internminister@uuneedham.org, on the Thursday before the Sunday service, and we will incorporate your prayer into this ritual. If you're in the parish hall and have a joy or a concern, you're welcome to quietly offer a stone at the altar and write your joy or concern on a slip of paper. The pastoral care team and the ministers will see these at a later time with your permission. I'd also like to remind everyone that this service is being live streamed to YouTube, and we cannot guarantee that the joys, concerns, sorrows, and milestones will stay within the First Parish community. So if you're concerned at all, you can reach out to Reverend Wendy, to me, or the Pastoral Care Associate of the Week, who is Rick Vincent, for pastoral care and to share more privately. Our first pre-submitted prayer comes from the First Parish Needham staff, and we offer a candle of concern for our nation as we head to the polls on Tuesday. A second pre-submitted candle is from Sarah Elizabeth, who would like us to light a candle of healing for her brother Max, who is recovering from emergency surgery yesterday for an abscess in his jaw. And now if you have a joy or concern that you'd like to share, I invite you to come forward, and I'd like to remind you to please speak directly into the microphone so people at home can hear our joys and concerns.
Good morning. I'm Janet Klein. I have good news for you. Barbara Ridge is home and happy and doing well. I had an email from her daughter, Emily Bronkowski, this morning. So, isn't it wonderful to have some good news?
I'm George Ganacanto. This is a prayer and asking for your blessing. Dear friend of mine who's had been battling throat cancer for the past 4 years, just recently passed. His name is Doug McEwen. So I'll ask for your blessing. Thank you.
And we light a final candle for all the prayers, the joys, the concerns, and milestones that lie on our hearts but remain unspoken. As we enter the time of prayer and meditation, I invite you to settle back into your pews, to take a deep breath and to ground yourself in this moment. Breathe deeply. Spirit of peace, on this Sunday before Tuesday's election, many of us in our country are feeling fearful. We are anxious about the outcome. worried that there might be a repeat of the violence from the 2020 election, fearing that our country might be torn apart. May a peaceful calm prevail on Election Day. Spirit of unity. The fear and anxiety we are feeling are not unfounded. The divides in our country are wide and deep between Democrat and Republican, wealthy versus those struggling to make ends meet, and our ever-deepening racial divide. May we pause long enough to hear the human story held within each side of these divides, and may our compassion grow, reminding us that we are one country and one people. Spirit of wisdom and discernment, there are those already casting doubt on the validity of the electoral process, sowing seeds of distrust and frustration. Grant us clear-eyed vision with the ability to see through the confusion of lies, that the bell of truth may ring out a resounding return of trust in our electoral process. Spirit of change, on the precipice of this election day, we stand on a threshold offering us the opportunity and the hope for change. May we have the courage to walk through this opening, to create a country where we are one indivisible nation, to create, where there is true equity, universal liberty, and accountable justice for all. May it be so, and amen. Will be held in a few moments of silence. Amen. Please remain seated and join in singing our meditative response, number 108, in the blue hymnal or printed in your orders of service. The meditation response is "My Life Flows On in Endless Song," and we will be singing verse 3.
When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? To prison cell and dungeon vile, our thoughts to them are winging. When friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing?
This congregation has been supported by the volunteered time and treasure of its members and friends since its founding in 1711. This is the time in our service when we, the modern stewards of the church, offer what we can to build and sustain the congregation and the world we envision. This month, our collections are being split 50-50 with the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, or UUSC. The UUSC is the merged social service organization of the Unitarian Service Committee and the Universalist Service Committee, both founded during World War II to help those escaping Nazi persecution and to support relief efforts after the war. The symbol of our denomination, the flaming chalice, was originally the symbol of the Unitarian Service Committee. The UUSC today supports justice work through local partners around the world with a special focus on grassroots organizing, abroad, and legislative advocacy here in the United States. It is also the organizational vehicle for special UU fundraising efforts after natural disasters. To donate to our collection, you can use one of 3 different methods as described in detail in your orders of service, using text to give, donating through our website, uuneedham.org, or writing a check or giving cash in our offering plate or mailing them to First Parish. Whatever way you give, please be sure to specify whether your gift today is for today's collection or for your 2023 pledge. Thank you for everything you are able to give to help support and sustain this congregation and the vital work of our community partners. And many thanks to Leslie Nelkin for the beautiful flowers today, dedicated to all the people who have fought for the right to vote. May the ushers please come forward.
I'm Nikki Giovanni. I'm a poet. I'm 77 years old. I hope to be 78, you know. I'm just a poet. I only have words. So the words I wanted to share were thug life. Tupac was a big fan of voting. I, too, am a thug. And this poem is entitled Vote. It's not a hug, nor mistletoe at Christmas. It's not a colored egg at Easter, nor a bunny hopping across the meadow. It's a vote saying you are a citizen. though it sometimes is chocolate or sometimes vanilla. It can be female or male. It is right or left. I can agree or disagree, but, and this is an important but, I am a citizen. I should be able to vote from prison. I should be able to vote from the battlefield. I should be able to vote when I get a driver's license. I should be able to vote when I purchase a gun. I must be able to vote if I'm in the hospital, if I'm in the old folks' home, if I'm needing a ride to the polling place. I am a citizen. I must be able to vote. Folks were lynched. Folks were shot. Folks' communities were gerrymandered. Folks who believed in the Constitution were lied to, burned out, bought and sold because they agreed all men and women were created equal. Folks vote to make us free. It's not cookies nor cake, but it is the icing that is so sweet. Good for the folks, good for us. My country, 'tis of thee.
Poet and activist Nikki Giovanni knows well the fight to secure more American citizens the right to vote. She was born in Knoxville, Tennessee in 1943. At the time, separate but equal was the law, with white and colored schools, railroad and streetcars, seating sections in theaters and parks. In Tennessee, a poll tax was to be paid in order to vote. It was only when Giovanni was a student at Nashville's historically black Fisk University and a leader in its Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee that the Civil Rights and Voting Rights Acts were signed into national law. It's important to remember such history, such lived experience of those still among us today when we hear Giovanni say, "I must be able to vote," from the prison, the battlefield, or the old folks' home. Folks were shot, lynched, gerrymandered, burned up, bought and sold. Folks vote to make us free. We must be able to vote, and we must vote. We vote to make us freer. We vote to honor our activist ancestors, familial and spiritual, and we vote to secure a better future for our descendants, familial and spiritual. We know we have a lot of work to do for that better future for our descendants. We see how across the nation, abortion access is being severely restricted, LGBTQ affirming schooling and care is outlawed, and gun access and violence is left unchecked. Here in Massachusetts, we have to say yes on for safer roads because xenophobic organizers are trying to trick us into revoking driver's licenses for undocumented residents. Today, the 27th United Nations Climate Change Conference begins in Egypt, just 1 week after the UN's environmental program released a report declaring that progress since last year's climate change conference has been woefully inadequate, and that without globally reducing greenhouse gases by unprecedented levels over the next 8 years, we may see a catastrophic rise in global temperature of 2.4 or even 2.8 degrees Celsius. We have much work to do. Our nation's deep roots in patriarchy, white supremacy, xenophobia, classism, and anthropocentrism take time and effort to uproot. Responding to the Supreme Court's overturn of Roe v. Wade in our denominational magazine, The UU World, Euro-American journalist and organizer Jeff Milchin wrote, "The SCOTUS majority discarded a half-century of precedent because reproductive choice is not deeply rooted in this nation's history and tradition. Let's take a minute to unpack the rationale for rejecting rights not rooted in tradition. Our constitutional conveners were wealthy white men who shut out women, people of color, and the working class from participating. We, the people, excluded roughly 85% of Americans at that time. Our Constitution perpetuates 18th century norms of racism, sexism, and other forms of bigotry that most Americans now condemn. Uprooting historic systemic oppression takes time and effort. Voting doesn't fix everything, it won't fix everything. But if we're thoughtful and careful and diligent in our voting, voting can, at the very least, reduce harm. As Japanese-American poet and activist Guante wrote, voting as fire extinguisher. When the haunted house catches fire, a moment of indecision. The house was, after all, built on bones and blood and bad intentions. Everyone who enters the house feels that overwhelming dread, the evil that perhaps only fire can purge. It's tempting just to let it burn. And then I remember that there are children inside. Voting gives us opportunities to put more equitable policies into force and more ethical politicians who represent our values into office. We must vote for freedom, for our ancestors, for our descendants. And how do we vote? We vote with our values. We vote to affirm and promote our first principle of inherent worth and dignity of every person. And because of that, we vote to affirm and promote our fifth principle, to use the democratic process in our congregations and society at large. We believe that the more people we have engaged in congregational and civic democracy, the better. Because we believe that at our core, every person has seeds of goodness that only need nourishing soil, water, and sunlight to grow and thrive. In her commencement speech to the 2022 class of the UU Seminary, Meadville Lombard, queer Euro-American UU minister and activist Reverend Ashley Horan said, "If we believe that humans are endowed with inalienable worth and dignity, then we must create institutions and societies in which every person is equally empowered to determine, as part of a collective, what is best for the people. If the people are born with the twin blessings of agency and conscience, then they must be trusted to govern themselves, because we are individually born from that deep love from which we all can never be separated. We believe the people as a whole retain a connection to and a will toward that source of goodness and creativity from which we can never be severed. And the more of all the people who are allowed a voice in what is done to all the people, the more likely that we will err on the side of mutual care, support, and collective well-being for all the people. This is the hope of democracy. We vote, and we get out the vote for freedom for our ancestors and for our descendants." Cece preempted me on this. I know many of you have already voted. I know many of you have sent off scores of postcards and letters encouraging folks across the country to exercise their right to vote. I know many of you have helped other citizens near and far get to and feel safe at their polling places. I know many of you have worked through our national denomination and other organizations to protect voting rights and expand voting access here in our Commonwealth and across the country. Because we Unitarian Universalists do strive to recognize the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and we know we are interconnected. The harm and exclusion of any in our wider community is to all of our detriment. Our 19th century spiritual ancestor, Black educator, abolitionist, and voting rights activist, Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, spoke at the 1866 National Women's Rights Convention saying, "We are all bound up together in one great bundle of humanity, and society cannot trample on the weakest and feeblest of its members without receiving the curse in its own soul." You tried that in the case of the Negro. You pressed him down for 2 centuries, and in doing so, you crippled the moral strength and paralyzed the spiritual energies of the white men of the country. Society cannot afford to neglect the enlightenment of any class of its members. This is collectivism through the lens of justice and equity, knowing that what is best for the community is what is best for those individuals within our community who have been historically denied agency, opportunity, and safety. In Jeanette Anderson's memorial yesterday afternoon, one of her nephews read a quote she had chosen for her service from Albert Einstein, the German-American physicist. Our actions should be based on the ever-present awareness that human beings in their thinking, feeling, and acting are not free, but just as causally bound as the stars in motion. As you may know, I travel twice a year, an hour and a half northwest to rural New Hampshire to convene with other UU ministers for 3 days of communal directed study. At last May's gathering, my colleague, Reverend Mark Caggiano, who serves in Newton, offered a contrast between liberal and progressive that really stuck with me. The liberal, he wrote, is focused on individual rights, well, as even if those rights are a way of lifting up and protecting a community, while the progressive is specifically focused on collective outcomes arising from a sense of social justice, with the endpoint of collective liberation, not just individual liberty. Liberalism privileges the individual viewpoint, while progressivism looks to the collective needs in question. We help get out the vote, and we vote with our values as we strive to put our community needs above any individual needs, for we are indeed a great bundle of humanity, and we cannot afford to neglect any class of our community's members. We vote for freedom, for our ancestors, and for our descendants. And I do want to speak about those familial and spiritual descendants for a moment. When I vote, I think about the children of this congregation, including sweet Elwyn and my own child, Sophia. I think about the faith community we offer to them and work with Sarah Elizabeth and other first parishioners to make our community worthy of our children's presence, not just welcoming, but worthy of them and their inherent dignity. And I also think about the wider community and the world they've been brought into by their births. We vowed to Elwyn this morning to guard him and his opportunities to experience beauty, love, and peace. When I vote, I ask, can I make our children safe from gun violence? Can I ensure each of them and every child they meet has enough food to eat and a roof over their heads? Can I prevent climate collapse and offer them a livable planet? Can I co-create a world where they can live authentically and joyfully? Sikh Punjabi-American lawyer, filmmaker, and activist Valerie Carr said, "I used to think I was only as good or as spiritual as my ability to choke down my rage. I used to think that rage was somehow antithetical to nonviolence and peaceful action. But here's what I wish to tell you. Our rage is a powerful source of information and energy. This burning is the body's wisdom saying, there is something worth protecting here. To rage is to tap into our body's power to protect ourselves and others. When we find a safe expression for our rage, we can be in relationship with it. We can ask, what information does my rage carry? What does it say about what's important to me? How do I want to harness this energy for what I do next? I call that harnessed energy divine rage, and the aim of divine rage is not vengeance. The aim of divine rage is to reorder the world." As I already said, voting won't fix everything, but it is part of the puzzle of a just society that protects those we love, those who are most vulnerable, those who are our children, our future. Let us pray together these words adapted from Euro-American UU minister Reverend Tess Baumberger. Spirit of wisdom, as we prepare to elect new citizens to lead us and to enshrine new laws in our communities, towns and cities, in our counties, states, and our heart-torn nation, grant us wisdom and discernment so we may choose those of peaceful heart, of competent mind, and of servant spirit. Spirit of the harvest, help us to winnow the grain from the chaff and to reap the legacy of freedom our founders planted for just some of us, now working for liberation for all of us. Help us to gather together as one people, united in concern for this country founded upon promising ideals. Spirit of healing, grant that we may bridge the breaches that have opened between us. Help us to understand one another, to listen to the stories of who we are, and to find common ground on which we can move forward together in justice, equity, and peace. Blessed be, and amen.
Before we extinguish our chalice, I've got a few brief announcements. The first is to remind you to please join us for fellowship after the service, either out on our lawn or if you are joining us live stream, to join us on Zoom for a time of fellowship. We have a caregiver support group that's meeting today at 12:30 via Zoom. If you have any questions, Lynn Jakowski can answer them. The Zoom link is in the bell notes. Are you worried about the midterm elections? Join Sarah Elizabeth and I as we hold a listening circle this afternoon at 2 p.m. here in the sanctuary. This is just a space for you to voice your concerns and gather support from your fellow congregants. The Needham Diversity Summit is happening this afternoon from 1 to 5 at the Pollard Middle School, and Reverend Katie will be there representing First Parish. This November, the First Parish Youth Group will be helping to sell pies through Pie in the Sky, which benefits community servings. They are a nonprofit that delivers scratch-made meals to individuals and families across Massachusetts living with critical and chronic illnesses. So you can buy a pumpkin, an apple, or a pecan pie at pieinthesky.org for $30. And if you choose First Parish Needham Youth Group as the seller, oh, you need to do that, not if, but please do. And if you would like your pie hand-delivered, then you should reach out to Sarah Elizabeth and let her know, and for an extra $10 donation, the youth group will deliver it to you. So please contact Sarah Elizabeth, and instructions and a direct link are in the bell notes. On Saturday, November 12th, there will be a memorial service for Debbie Heller. It will be at 3 p.m. The service will be live streamed from our sanctuary, and a reception in the parish hall will follow the service. So we have just a few other quick announcements. They're reminders of the weekly things that happen. Writing Escapes on Thursday mornings at 11. Spend an hour in community as you write and explore your thoughts and ideas. Vespers that evening at 5:30 is a service of quiet contemplation, music, and centering. Then later in the evening on Thursday, we have Meditation Ministries, which is an hour of guided meditation at 7:30. And the last is Creative Escapes, which meet on Friday mornings at 10:30. No talent needed, just come with an open heart ready to create. And now, as always, we extinguish our chalice here with words promising to carry its flame in our hearts until we are together again, until we are all together again. Please join me from home or here in the building in saying these words written by Unitarian Universalist minister Reverend Elizabeth Sully Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, nor the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Our closing hymn, Answering the Call of Love, was originally named Standing on the Side of Love. The composer, Euro-American UU musician Jason Shelton, was inspired by a marriage equality statement issued by Black UU minister and former denominational president, Reverend Bill Sinkford. Shelton rewrote the lyrics to the chorus and renamed the hymn as Answering the Call of Love in response to inclusion concerns from UU disability activists. Please rise in body or in spirit and join in singing Answering the Call of Love. The lyrics are in your order of service.
Hope and love abide, and so every soul is blessed and made
As we close our worship today, let us say together the words of our unison benediction from Euro-American Catholic activist, anarchist, and writer Dorothy Day. You'll find the words in your orders of service and at number 560 in the very back of your gray hymnals. And let the people say together, people say, what is the sense of our small effort? They cannot see that we must lay one brick at a time, take one step at a time. A pebble cast into a pond causes ripples that spread in all directions. Each one of our thoughts, words, and deeds is like that. No one has the right to sit down and feel hopeless. There's too much work to do. Our service begins when our service ends. Blessed be, and amen.
It would feel to be free. I wish I could break all the chains holding me. I wish I could say all the things that I could say them loud, say them clear, so the whole round world could hear. I wish I could share all the love that's in my heart. Remove all the bars that keep us apart. I wish you could know what it means to be me. Then you'd see and agree everyone should be free. I wish I could give all I'm longing to give. I wish I could live how I'm longing to live. I wish I could do all the things that I can do, though I'm way overdue. I'd be starting anew. I wish I could be like a bird in the sky. How sweet it would be if I found I could fly. Oh, I'd soar to the sun and look down on the sea. And I'd sing 'cause I know. And I'd sing 'cause I know. Yeah, I'd sing 'cause I know how it feels.